on which I will focus on three main areas. I'll be talking about ICT innovations for sustainable healthcare on the theme today. I'll be using the example of the health insurance industry as an innovator in the ICT space. I'll be talking about a couple of game changers for all of us to watch out for, and then I'll be talking about one example of something we are trying to do in Uttarakhand, and this is probably changers to watch out for, which I will not give away right away. And then innovating for public health, a very quick glimpse at what is the potential of ICT being explored by the government of Uttarakhand. So let's talk about the evolution of IT in the Indian health insurance sector as a case study. It is interesting that most of these developments are just about a decade old. It was only in 2004 that the IRDA's data working group said that we should have ICD-10 in our data, and that really started a revolution by starting to collect granular policy level, member level, claim level records that have been stored in the IRDA's data repository since then. Hundreds of millions of records exist, and the richness of analytics that is possible with those records is only something that we can imagine. This repository is now maintained by the Insurance Information Bureau of India. It moved from the Tariff Advisory Committee to the IRDA to this bureau created by the IRDA. The second revolution that happened in the health insurance space was with the government-sponsored health insurance schemes. We heard about RSBY in the morning. So RSBY, Arogyashree and many other schemes that came in over the last decade introduced offline authorizations using storage-enabled membership cards, paperless claim submissions, use of virtual private networks and closed user groups for communication, and an expectation of 100% cashless authorization. It also introduced, though not did much, but still introduced some very specific data analytics, and this is just the beginning, as I say. Experiments with mobile phone payments, experiments with handheld devices, experiments with prepaid insurance kits, prepaid pharmacy cards, e-vouchers for physician consultation are already existing. These are not dreams that I'm talking about. So ICT is being seen as the game changer for government and private health insurance by addressing two critical challenges which are existing in the health insurance space and also in the overall health space. One, sustainability makes it important that we keep costs under check, and transaction costs or administrative costs can be the big killer. ICT enables a reduction in transaction costs for enrollment, distribution, communication and claim processing. And on the other hand, it also contributes to sustainability by reducing leakages. By improving internal controls and by improving the design through improved information, it really leads to an improved cost environment, which is a huge contributor to sustainability. So, just to give some examples of how the Indian health insurers, both public and government, both public and private, are embracing information technology. There are web-based platforms for distribution. There's a lot of mobile technology being used for distribution. There are smart cards and biometrics being used for enrollment. There are offline and online tools for ID and entitlement verification. There's business intelligence and fraud control, a little more sophisticated with private insurers than the government insurers today, but the thing should change soon. A lot of use of analytics for product design improvements and innovation. Connectivity solutions, web-enabled applications, claim processing tools for electronic payments, improving customer relationship management, and of course beginning to look at how do we integrate this with electronic health records. All this is what is happening today as we speak. It's not a vision for the future. To give some specific examples of some government health insurance schemes, we spoke about RSBY's smart card in the morning, which is used for recording the identity and the biometrics and can be used for offline authorization. It can be batch processed in terms of communication, taking care of connectivity and power issues that disrupt our remote areas even today. Ravi Babu is already here from the Chief Minister's Comprehensive Health Insurance Scheme. The electronic pre-authorization and claims process allows in-depth examination of the pre-authorization requests and claims in a fully paperless environment there. Both ESIS and CGHS are looking at membership cards which have allowed portability of benefits to any dispensary without being limited to one particular dispensary where your paper record existed in the past. Vajpayee Arogyasri and Rajiv Arogyasri have really created integrated paperless claim processing systems which analyzes the claims at the various stage, allows them MIS based monitoring and surveillance, also a lot of internal controls and a lot of good data analytics. The industry has also worked with the IRDA and with industry chambers such as FICCI for a lot of standardization initiatives, including standard treatment guidelines, standard pre-authorization and claim forms, standard definitions and wordings, and common hospital IDs, what I'll just come to. And all these are aimed at minimizing confusion, enhancing comparability, ensuring transparency and fair practices, and also to yield data for the industry's development. Just a quick word on how this can be contributing to sustainability and cost containment by minimizing leakages. Misutilization or fraud can take multiple forms in health space, particularly in health insurance. It could be misrepresentation. I am not eligible, but I say that I am eligible. It could be claims submitted by non-existing hospitals or for services not rendered. It could be providing or billing higher level of services than required, a soft kind of fraud which is very common. Balance billing of patients, charging them when they were not supposed to be charged, so taking money from the patients and from the insurer. And data analytics can make possible control systems by keeping vigil on claims data, by automated as well as manual reviews of pre-authorization requests, and of course through triggers and alerts that can lead to physical verification of the suspected incidences picked up by the system through good algorithms. It can also strengthen reporting loop from grievance and feedback systems, and that could also be a huge insight. So I come to the last two parts of my presentation, last two slides. This is about the emerging game changers. I talk about two emerging game changers here. The first is the hospital master. Very few people even knew how many hospitals existed in India, leave alone have a unique ID for them. Now, more than 32,000 hospitals have been allotted a unique ID, and in the very near future, all the analytics that will be done by the insurance industry would use those hospital codes. As more hospitals start getting used by the insurance system, more and more hospitals would be in the hospital ID base. So now we can look data at the hospital level and understand what's happening, which will also give us linkages to geography, linkages to what kind of specialty it is, what number of beds, what's happening in small hospital, what's happening in big hospitals. A lot of data mining, data crunching by good categorization of hospitals will be possible because we now will be able to identify each claim record from which hospital it generated from. So 32,000 hospitals already have those unique IDs that have been issued, validated after a lot of cleaning up with the Insurance Information Bureau of India, and this is already being used by the industry as we speak. The second game changer in terms of standardization and making good analytics possible in the future is what some of the people in this room have also been involved in, the electronic health record standards for India. By having a standard known upfront well before we really invested big money in the electronic health record, electronic medical record space, India is doing something similar to what we did for ICD-10. We really prescribed a standard far before we were really using much of it. And by doing that, we will be able to guide the development of hardware and software that is compliant with the standard and not ad hoc. The problem of backward integration of these systems to talk to each other is far more as the US and many other countries are facing today. And rather than creating those interoperability layers later, if we can have some standards upfront, that's ideal, and that's really going to be helping us leapfrog in health technology as it helped us leapfrog in mobile technology, for example. So the Ministry's electronic health record standards, which are now notified, could be another way in which much more data would be available and would be shareable and would be interoperable, and that would also be a huge potential game changer. So I come to the last part of what I wanted to talk about, and this is something we are envisioning as part of our upcoming health system development project in Uttarakhand. It uses simple technology, but it uses technology at a low cost, try to keep it sustainable, and it tries to keep it affordable for the state in the long run, and at the same time providing a lot of convenience to the patient. We already have the HMIS and the MCTS from NRHM. We already have RSBY claims data. We already have 108 systems. None of them talk to each other. We've also tried 104 health helplines in many states, but that stops at the level of health information. We've had telemedicine in small pilots, but the big problem with telemedicine has been that you never take care of who's available at the other end. It's not the connectivity and the hardware that is often or usually the problem. The usual problem is whose job is it to be available at the other end to be able to respond to somebody who wants to now consult you. If we expect a medical college to consult you, who has the full-time duty to stand there and be attending? And in the absence of that, most telemedicine systems fail. This tries to use simple internet and mobile phone based solutions to be able to first make a health helpline the central gateway for access for a customer, for a patient who is to be seen as a consumer of services. Even if he's getting the services for free, he should get all the rights that he gets as a consumer of services. So he's seen as the center of the fulcrum, as the most important piece in the system. He calls a health helpline. If he has a problem that can be addressed through some information, okay, your child has diarrhea, you can get ORS from somebody in your village. If the child does not get better in 12 hours, 24 hours, you can do this. So protocol based advice, the first step. For a remote population, sometimes that itself can be the difference between life and death, between good health and bad health. But if the person does need to see a doctor in an emergency situation, this call can be transferred to the 108 ambulance network, or in the non-emergency situation, the person can be navigated like a true concierge role of the system to be informed where are your nearest health facilities, public, private, insurance empaneled, how do you access them, when is the mobile van with a doctor coming to your area in the next round, because that's also a part of the project. And so you have a patient making a choice as to where does he want to go if he really needs to see a doctor. And once he has made that choice, the information is given both to the patient's mobile phone and to the doctor's mobile phone that this patient is expected to come at such and such appointment time. And a day after the service is availed, the system actually does a feedback call, an outbound call, and checks with the patient about his service encounter and the quality of it. So you're building in a complete feedback loop and a concierge role beyond the health information using simple mobile call center technology, which is no big brainer, considering that we've been doing this now for more than 15 years for the entire world. But it also links to another deeper service. It links to a service which is not just for the patient but also for the health workers. It enables an ASHA worker to ask a doctor. It enables a PHC medical officer to ask a cardiologist. It enables a specialist to ask another specialist in the same discipline through a telemedicine linkage that offers teleconsultation, tele-ECG and teleradiology using internet-based pipe which is shared across all physical and mobile health facilities that will operate in the state. So if a patient with a suspected heart attack, a patient with a chest pain comes to a PHC which only has a medical officer, currently he has no choice but to send this person to a higher level of care. Now he can do an ECG, send the signal to the telecardiology provider. The telecardiology provider would be able to respond back in a few minutes with a report. If it needs that the person needs adrenaline or the person needs streptokinase, it can potentially be provided under guidance of the cardiologist under a consultation, and then referred to an appropriate level of care for further management. So you would have made the difference in a hilly area where reaching even a district base and tertiary base would have taken far longer than the golden hour. So some signs of what can potentially be done using very simple technology which is being attempted in the coming years in the Uttarakhand state. So on that note, I'll stop here and thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you.